Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1600B, and today's date is June 25th, 2018, and the title of the episode is, It's All Happening Under the Radar. Big news will be coming soon. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, we've been talking about how the U.S. government, certain intel agencies have been spying on the American people. And, of course, the corporate media never really picked this up. And we knew that the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, they all had ways of spying on the American people. And with WikiLeaks dropping the bomb of Vault 7, we started to figure out a lot of the information. And just recently, we've gotten some more information. And these secrets, they're hidden behind fortified walls in cities across the United States, inside towering, windowless skyscrapers and fortress-like concrete structures that were built to withstand earthquakes and even nuclear attacks. Thousands of people pass by these buildings each day and rarely give them a second glance because their function is not publicly known. They are an integral part of the world's largest telecommunications network, and they are also linked to the National Security Agency surveillance program. In the cities of Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C., in each one of these cities, there are AT&T facilities containing network equipment that transports large quantities of internet traffic across the United States and the world. A body of evidence, including classified NSA documents, public records, and interviews with several former AT&T employees, indicates that the buildings are central to an NSA spying initiative that has for years monitored billions of emails, phone calls, and online chats passing across U.S. territory. Now, according to the NSA's documents, it values AT&T not only because it has access to information that transits the nation, but also because it maintains unique relationship with other phone and internet providers. The NSA exploits these relationships for surveillance purposes, commandeering AT&T's massive infrastructure and using it as a platform to covertly tap into communications processed by other companies. So, all those stories and everything that we've been reporting on, saying that the NSA is spying on the emails, on phone calls, on everything, well, it looks like it's all coming true. And from these documents, we can see that this is what they've been doing. So once again, here it is. The truth is coming out. Now, I just want to go back to the Skripal story, Sergei Skripal out in the UK. And what's very interesting out there, and this is according to officials, taxpayers will be footing the bill for Skripal's home. Now, the UK government is going to purchase Skripal's home for $350,000, and they're also going to purchase Detective Sergeant Nick Bailey. He's the one who fell ill after coming into contact with the nerve agent Novichok, which has never been proven, and the house is expected to cost taxpayers around $430,000. So basically, almost $1 million is going to be spent on purchasing these homes. Now, the question is, why? Why do they need to purchase these homes? Because I think what's going to happen eventually is they're going to be demolished. They're going to be destroyed. And they're going to make the excuse they have to do this because they can't get the poison out of the house. We don't want anyone else to be infected. And most likely they'll end up destroying it. And if you notice, other places have been destroyed also when we see these type of events. This is how they get rid of everything. And it seems like this is the direction they're going in. We see that Merkel, well, she is in trouble. She was stunned after the Italian Prime Minister called for radical change in the EU's so-called Dublin Principle that makes frontline countries such as Italy responsible for dealing with asylum claims and allows for registered asylum seekers that move on to another country to be sent back to the state they landed in. Now, Conte, he's calling for severing the link between the safe port of disembarkation and the competency to examine asylum rights. The reason why is simple. Italy, along with the other European nations, tend to be on the short end of the trade as Rome ends up with any migrants that cross the Mediterranean to arrive in Italy. And Merkel got even more bad news from all this. Conte also proposed the protection centers for processing asylum claims should be set up in other EU countries, such as Germany, as hotspots to avoid overcrowding in frontline states, such as Italy. France and Spain have backed a similar plan, but the idea has been criticized by the Netherlands. In other words, migrants picked up from Libya would be processed in Libya. And we'll have to see how Merkel reacts to this. And Italy now is fighting back. Many of the nations now are fighting back because they don't want this open border. And many of the countries are putting up, temporary fences, walls to keep these individuals out. Now, remember, this was all being planned by Soros and the globalists, the deep state, where they were going to blend the world and become one, where you couldn't tell one nation from another. This was all part of their one world strategy, where they were going to have the world on an even playing field. And I think they're still trying to do this. Remember, the deep state, they don't give up. If their goal isn't met with this plan, they shift to a different plan. This is why Soros is down now in Africa looking to get refugees to come up into Europe, because the Middle Eastern refugees, well, they're returning to their country, so he can't use them anymore. The wars are coming to an end in the Middle Eastern countries, so they can't use these individuals. Now they have to shift their focus and try to readjust their plan to bring other refugees into Europe. And it looks like they're having a very difficult time, and it's all starting to break down. We see the Pentagon announced on Friday that they basically indefinitely suspended all the war games in South Korea. And this is even including the Freedom Guardian exercise, which happens annually. This is also being shut down right now. We also see the Pentagon is sending coffins, flags to the DMZ to receive the war remains from North Korea. So this is all true here. And we also see out in South Sudan, peace talks have been kicked off by the South Sudanese president and the opposition leader. And we've seen these talks before, but the problem was the deep state was involved in these peace talks. John Kerry normally would be involved in this, and whenever they talk about peace talks, when the deep state was involved, it was never about peace talks. It was about one side surrendering, and there was no other option. Just like in Ukraine, put down your weapons, we will take over that area. That was the peace talks. Same thing in Syria. You will no longer be president, we will replace you. Those were the peace talks. So it's almost like a Sith, if you ever seen Star Wars, where everything is black and white. There's no gray area. You do it our way or else. Today, everything is changing. Today, there are gray areas. There's room for negotiation. And we're seeing this. And things are changing rapidly. Everything is happening under the radar. And we're going to see incredible news come out of the Middle East, maybe in the next couple of months or maybe even weeks. We don't know. But what we see happening right now is the deep state is done in the Middle East. We see the deep state, they have been airlifting Islamic State commanders out of Syria right now. There's a report that 2 senior Islamic State commanders, remember this is the paid mercenary army, these are the commanders of the paid mercenary army, which the deep state controls. They are now taking their leaders and moving them out of these areas. And we've seen this before. It's the mop-up operation because they realize they don't have any way of winning this war anymore. It's all said and done. We see out in Manbij, which is very interesting, a popular resistance in Manbij has announced that they are going to push the U.S., France, and Turkey out of this area. Now, the people are coming together because they've seen what Assad has done. They with Russia, they liberated all these areas. There's peace there. There's no more terror because that's what they were experiencing under al-Nusra, the Islamic State, the moderate rebels, the Syrian Democratic Forces. They were kept in terror the entire time. Now, these millions and millions of refugees, they are now pouring back into these countries. And now what's happening is they're saying we don't want these foreign forces in our country anymore, and we want them out. And we're starting to see a movement here. And we're starting to see that the paid mercenary army, the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda, and the rest, well, they realize they can't do anything anymore. So a lot of the rebels right now, they're surrendering, and they're basically just surrendering and say, listen, here's the whole entire region. We're done here. And they've given the region to the Syrian army. And we're seeing this out in Dara. We're seeing it in the northeast part of Syria. And it's happening all over the place. Now, Assad vows to retake the northern Syria from Turkey, from the U.S., and I think he's going to be able to do this. I think what's going to happen, I don't think it's going to be a huge battle. He's out there saying, listen, we're going to be working with all these different groups. And we're going to be talking to them, and we're going to be using two different methods that we adopted. The first one, and the main one, was the reconciliation. He said it succeeded. This is how we could have brought those areas back to their normality, where the people live a normal life and the government is controlling the life of the people through the institutions. The other one is attacking the terrorists whenever they don't give up and join the reconciliation. We're going to attack them and take control by force, which is not our favorable way, but is the only way to gain control of the country if they don't use the first method. And I think most of the terrorists right now, they're using the first method because they realize the support from the U.S., from the deep state, while the deep state is being pushed out, and the U.S. government, they're no longer supporting the rebels, al-Nusra, the Islamic State, and the Al-Qaeda and the rest. And they know there's no money coming in. There's no training coming in. There's no weapons coming in. The Kurds, they're just left on their own. Actually, the Kurds are working with Damascus right now because they realize they have no other choice. So at this point, we can see that Assad, when he says he's going to be taking back his country, he will be, because the U.S. is going to leave. Turkey eventually is going to leave because there's no reason for them to be there. And once they're all gone, Assad is out there saying, listen, we're going to be working with our allies, and the allies are not the U.S. It's going to be with Russia, China, and we're going to rebuild the country. Already, China and Russia, they have economic deals with Syria. Now, we know that Bolton, he's going to be visiting Moscow, and he's going to be discussing Syria there. And we can see that this is another step in the right direction, because we know that then Trump is going to be meeting with Putin, we believe, in July. Maybe it'll be August, but right now it's set for July. And once that happens, we know everything will be cemented and we're going to hear some big news. But before that, what are we seeing? Well, Trump is out there and he's saying a lot of progress has been made in the Middle East. Now, he didn't give any specifics. He's meeting with King Abdullah II of Jordan. He's at the White House right now. And he just made this blanket statement that there's a huge amount of progress happening in the Middle East. And what is happening right now, a lot of this is happening behind the scenes, just like it happened behind the scenes in North Korea, where the corporate media, well, they're not reporting anything about Syria or anything like that, but during the North Korea whole process, they were talking about war, nuclear disaster, but behind the scenes, it was peace talks. The same thing is happening right now. There are peace talks happening behind the scenes, and this is why Trump came out with this statement. And think about all the different statements that he's come out with. The troops will be coming home. Progress is being made in the Middle East. Funding has been cut off to all the different paid mercenary troops. There's no more training. Said goodbye to the moderate rebels. we can't support you in the south anymore. And there are talks going on about the troops leaving and giving up Al-Tanf area. Now, the deep state right now is withdrawing their paid mercenary army because they know they're doomed. There's nothing else for them to do because they don't have the power to launch an offensive against Assad. Actually, most of the rebels are moving into the Syrian army right now, and they're rejoining life in Syria. So what it means is that everything is in motion. The plan is in motion. The deep state is doomed. Trump is basically telling us what is going to happen here. Now, what's very interesting, a lot of people say, well, how come Barack Obama is not nervous? Why is he still traveling the world? Well, he was trying to keep the New World Order together. He calls it the international order. But what's very interesting about all of this is you can tell that Obama is getting a little bit nervous right now because he's out there and he's concerned that the future of the international order under Trump, well, it's in trouble. And a New York Magazine story reveals that the former president has privately told friends that Trump's actions in the world are part of what worries him the most. You think that's the only thing that really worries him? Well, I think this is part of what worries him. And as the world order, remember, Obama was following him around to many different countries, tried to call Kim Jong-un, but the number was changed. He sees that he's being locked out of all of this, and everything is changing all around him. And eventually what's going to happen is everything's going to break apart. Think about what is happening right now. As Trump puts forth these tariffs and got rid of the Iranian deal and is pushing his policies out in the Middle East, having all the investigations with the deep state, what's happening right now? Europe is breaking apart. Italy is moving in this direction. Spain's moving in this direction. Germany's trying to keep them all together. It's falling apart. The Brexit is happening all at the same time. And they can't come together on anything. They can't even come together to pay off Iran. And Iran is saying that they're going to be canceling the nuclear deal because they don't have faith in Europe right now. And a lot of these countries are looking at Russia and China. We see in the Middle East, everything's starting to fall apart. The deep state plan, not happening. Elections are happening in the Middle East. People are voting in who they want. They're trying to build their country in Libya. Haftar is gaining a huge amount of control in Libya, taking control of the oil fields. And we see in Syria, the deep state is completely done with. And with trade, we see that the World Trade Organization is in trouble. We see the globalist plan is breaking up. It is all happening. It's all unfolding right in front of everyone. And this is what it looks like when everything starts to go haywire. And the corporate media and all the people that are part of this new world order, they're going to scream and yell and point finger, yell out racist, bring up anything they possibly can to stop this. Think about a child who doesn't get their way anymore and they want to get their way. They scream, they yell, they stamp their feet, and they don't stop. That's what all these individuals are doing. These children who aren't getting their way anymore, they're stamping their feet, they're screaming, they're yelling, they're calling people names. This is what you see when things don't go your way anymore and you're losing control. This is the first step. The second step, many of these individuals are going to go into hiding. Many of these individuals might suicide themselves. And once charges are pressed and certain individuals are brought in to stand trial, well, this is when it gets a little crazy here because we don't know what these people will do. So we see it's all happening right now, and it's happening very quickly, and this is just going to accelerate. And we're going to see a lot more of this, and we're going to see big news coming out in most likely the next couple of months, maybe even shorter, but we see everything is in motion. It's all working out. It's planned this way. And it seems like it's all crazy right now? Well, that's what it looks like when everything is being ripped apart. Remember, the globalists, they've kept this system like this, and they were developing this system to go in a certain direction. Now it's being destroyed, and that's why it looks crazy out there. But when the dust clears, guess what? A new system will be in place. Hopefully not the central banking system. Hopefully not the deep state system, because we can see right now we're moving in a completely different direction. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.